and welcome to Petrolheads London, and back in the F-Type. So I just wanted to give you a bit of an update, and you might not like this, but I think you should know. As you've probably gathered from the title, I'm selling my F-Type. It's been almost 3 years since I've had this car. It's been awesome. I've been across Europe in it. I've driven it on a daily basis. I've spent money on expensive tyres on it. And I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I really have. But it's just come time for a change. And if I'm honest, there's also a few things that haven't quite suited me. And the longer I've held it in my possession, I've realised that those things are more and more important to me. Now, I talked about a few of those in my kind of like 3-year ownership video, but there were a few things that just, well, this is a great driving video, I'm just stuck in traffic at some roadworks, it just doesn't feel enough of a sports car to me as of a driving experience. And yes, it's nice and it's easy around town, but who wants nice when you can have fun and a bit more oomph around things? And it does just lack that. And I know that sounds really ungrateful. It does perform well as a car, but there are some things that just aren't right to me. So the build quality of some of these things are just a bit poor. You get the odd little rattle and stuff here. The sat nav is so outdated. I mean, there's no even tethering with your phone on Apple CarPlay or stuff like that, if you've obviously got an Apple. But yeah, it's just, well, a bit outdated, if I'm honest. It's just not really quite up there with a lot of other manufacturers these days. Things like the steering wheel. Do you know what? Like, this is probably one of the biggest things that has driven me, well, out of love with this car. It's just this big old chunky steering wheel here, and well, it doesn't really feel much like a sports car steering wheel. And there's a reason for that, because it's the same steering wheel they put on the Evoque. It's the same steering wheel I think they put in the XE as well. It's the same steering wheel. They make like 2 steering wheels, and this is the sporty-ish one they get. And it's like, if you've made that attention to detail, like, it feels like you don't care. Now, I know that's not a reason to be selling my F-Type, but part of it is I've had it for 3 years and it is time for a change. The other part is I miss that out and out more sports car experience that I have had in other cars. Things like my 911, which is interesting because it's one exactly like my old one, 2 cars in front of me. Things like my C63 maybe. I mean, I got rid of that because it was like drinking fuel like nobody's business. But I also got rid of it because it, well, it just almost overpowered for that chassis. But there are other cars out there. I also want something a bit more practical. You know, the one thing I love about some of the other cars that I've owned is that you've got space with a bit more practicality. And I don't, but I want that driving experience as well. Like, even when I looked at the Eurovora I drove, and to be honest, that kind of kick-started this process in my mind is, well, that was a lot more fun, and it also was a lot more practical, even though it's a 2+2, but it still had kind of like the right setup for me in terms of what I'm after. It is just time for a change. This car's been great to me. It's been a real integral part of basically how I got into doing YouTube. But it is time to go. So I need to start looking for another car, and well, there's a few things on the plate, and obviously I'll do another video on that. But I just wanted to kind of let you know that this thing is very, very soon to be gone, and I will. I shouldn't call it a thing. I should call it a her or a he, because it does have such a personality. But I talked about it in my other video, I'm out of warranty. I'm due another big service. It feels like the right time to get rid of it. Like, this car has not been as plain sailing as some of the others. It's not been massively troublesome, but it is just time for it to go. And beyond anything else, I quite like buying new cars, and I don't mean new, but new to me. And so it's quite a good time to start doing that. There's lots of exciting things coming out in the market, so I hope that will change how a few things go. I have looked at a few things. I will update you about that. I've had a few accidental test drives. These things happen. But what I do know is the 3 years I've had this car have been really good and really good fun. Steph ABTV, and we talked about modifying this car, and you know, I really liked that idea, but every time I looked at spending money on it, it felt like it wasn't going to really give me, well, the things that were missing, the fun factor and the kind of making it more of a sports driver's car. I think the other thing I've come to realise as well is I drove, not that long after I bought this actually, probably within a year of owning this, the 5 litre V8 all-wheel drive coupe. If I knew what I knew now and I was going to buy one of these, that's the car I'd buy. Definitely pops and crackles more than mine. Oh my god, what have I done? I'm going to want one of these. This is an awesome car. I've always liked the coupe. You know, for me actually, I preferred the coupe over the convertible when I first saw it, and just because I think the lines are absolutely amazing, and I've never been so enthused about a car's kind of visual appeal quite so much as when this came on the market. I think it looks amazing with these wheels. I think some of the all-wheel drive wheels are not that great. We've got the additional side skirts here as well down the side. Some of the things on here that I've talked about, which is less to do with this car but more to do with the feature package that we have on mine. 5 litre V8 makes it a muscle car, and that's what this should be. You know, there's nothing fundamentally wrong with the chassis or the way it works. It just is, well, lacking something. And you know, when I got in that 5 litre V8 coupe and drove that, it reminded me of the experience I used to have in things like a 911. And like, that's what this is missing. If you want an everyday car to like replace like a Boxster or something like that, this is a good car. If you want a proper sports car, you need the 5 litre V8. I know that probably seems blindingly blooming obvious to everyone, but you know, people do rave about this car. It sounds good, goes well. So that's probably one of the fundamental reasons that kicked me off to start looking for another car. And when I kind of thought about changing this to a 5 litre V8, I thought, well, what's the point? Like, it felt like I would have lost money on this car. They depreciate a lot more than these. This has lost a fair bit. I've probably lost a third of value in this over 3 years, but actually net, if you look at that, ain't so bad. So depreciation's kind of alright, I would say. They're a bit fluctuating. You got to remember, it's like just the end of winter here in the UK, which is probably a bad time to sell a convertible. If I waited a couple of months and been less patient, I might have got a little bit more money for it, but you know, we'll see. I think it's time for it to go now. Anyway, I wanted to update you with what's going on. It has been a while since I've done a few videos on YouTube. I've kept them nice and simple. I hope you have enjoyed this. Remember to put your questions below. Thank you so much for all your support with this car since I've had it, and I'm hoping there's lots of exciting stuff to come soon, as well as my bike content. Take care guys, cheers.